Have you ever met someone who seems to see right through you, who appears to understand the deepest corners of your soul, yet somehow manages to frustrate you in ways you can't quite explain? Chances are you've encountered an INFJ, the rarest personality type in the Myers-Briggs spectrum. Today, we're diving deep into the complex world of INFJ and exploring why these enigmatic individuals sometimes spark feelings of frustration, discomfort, and even resentment in those around them. This isn't about hate in its purest form. Rather, it's an exploration of the subtle tensions that arise when dealing with one of the most paradoxical personality types in existence. The notorious door slam. Understanding the INFJ's ultimate defense mechanism. The INFJ door slam stands as one of the most controversial aspects of this personality type's behavioral patterns. Imagine investing months or even years into a relationship, sharing your deepest secrets, building what you believe to be an unbreakable bond, only to suddenly find yourself completely shut out without any warning. This isn't your typical ghosting scenario. It's a calculated, permanent decision that INFJ make when they've reached their emotional limit. What makes the door slam particularly devastating is its finality and the careful deliberation behind it. INFJ don't arrive at this decision lightly. They spend weeks or months processing their feelings, analyzing patterns, and giving silent chances that others don't even realize they're receiving. By the time the door actually slams, the INFJ has already processed their grief and moved on, leaving the other person blindsided and confused. The psychological impact of the door slam extends beyond the immediate relationship. Friends and family members who witness this behavior often develop a sense of walking on eggshells around their INFJ companions, never quite sure if they might be next. This creates an underlying current of anxiety in relationships with INFJ, as people wonder whether they too might one day find themselves on the wrong side of that metaphorical door. Perfectionist tendencies. The double-edged sword of endless improvement. The INFJ's perfectionism runs deeper than simply wanting things done right. It's an all-encompassing worldview that affects every aspect of their lives, and by extension, the lives of those around them. This isn't just about color-coding files or organizing a bookshelf. It's about an unrelenting pursuit of ideals that often seems impossible to others. Their perfectionism manifests in various ways. The meticulous planning of social gatherings down to the smallest detail, the constant refinement of their own work well past what others would consider excellent, and the subtle but persistent push for others to meet their elevated standards. This drive for perfection often creates an atmosphere of constant pressure where good enough is never really good enough. The impact of this perfectionism extends into their relationships, career choices, and daily interactions. INFJ might spend hours crafting the perfect email, overthinking every word choice and potential interpretation. They might completely redesign a project multiple times, frustrating colleagues who thought the first version was perfectly fine. This relentless pursuit of perfection can lead to missed deadlines, increased stress levels, and strained relationships with more pragmatic personality types. The burden of intuitive insight. When understanding too much becomes overwhelming. One of the most unsettling aspects of interacting with INFJ is their almost supernatural ability to read between the lines and understand what's left unsaid. Their intuitive nature goes beyond basic empathy or emotional intelligence. It's like they have access to a hidden frequency of human behavior that others can't tune into. This deep intuitive understanding manifests in various ways. INFJ might pick up on relationship dynamics in a group before anyone else notices them, predict how situations will unfold with uncanny accuracy, or understand someone's true motivations, even when that person isn't aware of them themselves. While this might sound like a superpower, it often creates uncomfortable situations where the INFJ knows too much, but can't explain how they know it. The discomfort this creates in others is palpable. People often feel exposed and vulnerable around INFJ, as if their carefully constructed facades are made of glass. This can lead to defensive behaviors, with some actively avoiding deep conversations with INFJ or maintaining superficial relationships to protect themselves from this penetrating insight. The paradoxical nature, living life as a walking contradiction. The contradictory nature of INFJ creates a unique form of cognitive dissonance in those who interact with them regularly. These individuals somehow manage to be simultaneously extroverted and introverted, logical and emotional, structured and spontaneous. This isn't simply about being adaptable, it's about embodying seemingly opposite traits simultaneously in a way that can be deeply confusing for others. Consider how an INFJ might be the life of the party one evening, engaging everyone in deep, meaningful conversations and creating connections that seem unbreakable. Then, they might disappear for weeks, declining all social invitations and becoming virtually unreachable. This isn't fake behavior or manipulation, it's simply the natural ebb and flow of their complex personality. These contradictions extend into every aspect of their lives. They might be incredibly organized in their professional life, but maintain a chaotic personal space. They could be deeply emotional and empathetic while making decisions based on cold, hard logic. This constant dance between extremes can leave others feeling unstable and uncertain about where they stand with the INFJ. The weight of empathy. When caring becomes overwhelming, the INFJ's empathy goes beyond simple understanding or compassion. It's an all-consuming force that shapes their entire worldview and interaction style. Their ability to absorb and process others' emotions is so profound that it often becomes a burden, not just for them, but for those around them. This deep empathy manifests in ways that can be overwhelming for others. INFJ don't just listen to your problems, they feel them as if they were their own. They might become visibly distressed when hearing about your difficulties, sometimes even more than you are. This can create an unusual dynamic where the person sharing their troubles ends up comforting the INFJ instead. The intensity of their empathic responses can make others hesitant to share their problems, creating a paradoxical situation where people avoid confiding in someone who genuinely wants to help. This can lead to shallow relationships and missed opportunities for meaningful connections, as others might feel that dealing with an INFJ's emotional responses requires too much energy. The Idealists Dilemma. When reality never matches the vision. INFJ live with one foot in reality and one in their idealized version of how the world should be. This constant comparison between what is and what could be creates a perpetual state of dissatisfaction that affects not only them, but everyone in their orbit. Their idealism manifests in everything from their career choices to their relationships. They might turn down perfectly good job opportunities because they don't align perfectly with their vision of meaningful work. They might end relationships that most would consider healthy because they don't match their idealized version of love. This constant reaching for an impossible standard can be exhausting for those around them. The gap between their ideals and reality often leads to a subtle but persistent air of disappointment that others can pick up on. This can make people feel like they're constantly falling short, even when they're doing their best. The INFJ's idealism, while beautiful in theory, can create an environment where nothing and no one ever feels quite good enough. The Wisdom Dispenser. When deep insights become too much to handle, INFJ have an incredible capacity for processing information and drawing meaningful conclusions, but their tendency to share these insights isn't always welcome. Their natural inclination to dig deeper and find meaning in everything can turn simple conversations into philosophical debates or therapy sessions. This constant analysis and sharing of wisdom can become exhausting for others who might just want to engage in light conversation or share a simple story without it being turned into a life lesson. The INFJ might see patterns and connections that others don't want to acknowledge, bringing up uncomfortable truths or perspectives that challenge people's comfortable worldviews. Their wisdom, while often profound and helpful, can come across as preachy or condescending, especially when shared with those who haven't asked for it. This can create distance in relationships, as others might start avoiding deeper conversations to prevent being subjected to another session of INFJ insight. The social selectivity, the complex dance of INFJ relationships. The INFJ's approach to social relationships is complex and often misunderstood. While they might appear warm and welcoming to everyone, they maintain a strict hierarchy of relationships that few understand or appreciate. This selective approach to friendship and intimacy can leave many feeling like they're constantly trying to prove themselves worthy of the INFJ's inner circle. Their selectivity isn't based on superficial criteria, but rather on a complex evaluation of authenticity, depth, and potential for meaningful connection. This can make others feel like they're constantly being assessed and evaluated, creating an uncomfortable dynamic in social situations. The INFJ might engage warmly with someone for hours, but still keep them at an emotional distance, leaving the other person confused about where they stand. This careful curation of their social circle, while necessary for the INFJ's emotional well-being, can come across as elitist or judgmental. People might feel rejected without understanding why, especially when they see the INFJ forming deep connections with others who, from their perspective, don't seem any more special or worthy. The peace at any price. The dark side of harmony. Seeking INFJ. Relentless pursuit of harmony can actually create more tension than it resolves. Their aversion to conflict often leads them to suppress important issues, create elaborate schemes to maintain peace, and engage in indirect communication that can frustrate more straightforward personality types. This peace-seeking behavior often manifests in subtle manipulation of social situations. They might orchestrate events to keep conflicting personalities apart, redirect conversations away from controversial topics, or use their emotional intelligence to diffuse tensions before they surface. While their intentions are good, this constant manipulation of social dynamics can feel controlling and exhausting to others. Their approach to maintaining harmony can also lead to a buildup of unresolved issues. By avoiding necessary confrontations and difficult conversations, they create an environment where real problems never get addressed, leading to deeper resentment and more significant conflicts down the line. The futurist's curse. Lost in tomorrow's possibilities, INFJ have an almost obsessive focus on the future, constantly playing out scenarios and possibilities in their minds. While this forward-thinking approach can be valuable, it often prevents them from fully engaging with the present moment, frustrating those who want to enjoy life as it comes. Their future-oriented thinking affects everything from casual conversations to major life decisions. A simple discussion about weekend plans might turn into a complex analysis of potential outcomes and implications. This constant projection into the future can make it difficult for others to connect with them in the present moment. This tendency to live in future possibilities can also create anxiety in those around them. The INFJ might see potential problems or challenges that others aren't ready to consider, bringing a weight of concern to situations that others would prefer to approach more lightly. The Complexity Conundrum. When understanding becomes too difficult. The sheer complexity of the INFJ personality can be exhausting for others to navigate. Their multifaceted nature, combined with their tendency to show different sides of themselves in different contexts, can make it feel impossible to truly know them. This complexity manifests in their communication style, emotional responses, and decision-making processes. They might provide elaborate explanations for simple decisions, considering angles and implications that others find unnecessary. Their emotional responses might seem disproportionate or incomprehensible to others who don't share their depth of processing. The mental energy required to understand and interact with INFJ on their level can be draining for many people. It's like trying to solve a puzzle that keeps changing its pattern. Just when you think you figured them out, they reveal another layer of complexity. Conclusion: understanding the complexity of INFJ relationships. The reasons why people might secretly harbor negative feelings towards INFJ are as complex as the personality type itself. These feelings often stem not from genuine dislike, but from the challenges of understanding and adapting to such a multifaceted personality type. The very traits that make INFJ unique and valuable, their insight, empathy, complexity, and depth, can also create friction in their relationships with others. It's important to recognize that these challenges don't diminish the value INFJ bring to relationships and society as a whole. Their ability to understand others deeply, their commitment to personal growth, and their desire to make the world a better place are invaluable traits. The key to better relationships with INFJ lies in understanding and accepting their complexity rather than trying to simplify or change it. For INFJ themselves, awareness of how their traits might affect others can help them navigate relationships more effectively. For those who interact with INFJ, understanding these patterns can lead to more patience and appreciation for the unique perspective they bring to the world. After all, the world needs its deep thinkers, empaths, and idealists, even if they sometimes drive us crazy. In the end, the secret hate that some might feel towards INFJ often masks a deeper appreciation for their uniqueness. Like any personality type, INFJ have their strengths and challenges. Understanding these can help build stronger, more authentic relationships that benefit from their remarkable insights while acknowledging the complexities that come with their unique way of being in the world.